This one's a good one. This one, I'm really excited about this one. I'm excited. So, this, I don't think I ever would hear myself say this, but why can't America be more like Australia? And I have a reason for saying that.
I want to go to Australia.
You should go. I went.
It's great.
I went one time. It was really cool. But maybe not something I always say, oh, we need to be more like Australia. But Australia seems to be on the verge of canceling fake plastic surgeons.
How do you cancel fake plastic surgeons?
By making legislation.
Well, can't they just still be fake plastic surgeons?
Well, here's what they're doing. So Queensland, which is a state, so Australia has states, just like the United States. Queensland has introduced legislation to make it a crime to claim you're a surgeon if you're not a surgeon, and a crime to claim you're a plastic surgeon if you're not.
But I feel like that should already be a crime.
Well, you would think so, right?
Is that not a crime in America?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It happens literally all the time. We've talked about this.
I know, but I always thought it was like you can go to jail for that.
No, absolutely not. You can't even be held liable for it, civilly. Yeah.
So I could just be like, "Hi, I'm Surgeon Bennett."
Well, that's practicing life without a medicine. So this is specific to say
if you're
you're a family practice doctor.
Okay.
And you advertise yourself as a cosmetic surgeon because you're doing breast augs in your office. That's absolutely not against the law. It's not against the law. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to blow your mind. I thought you knew all this. All right, so this all stems from a Dr. Daniel Lanzer, who was a dermatologist in Australia. And this guy had a cosmetic surgery empire. He was doing in his office breast augmentations, tummy tucks, liposuctions. He had his own social media blitz where he was really popular. I'm surprised I never saw him, or maybe I saw him and I just didn't realize that he was a dermatologist. But I mean, a dermatologist is a skin doctor.
Yeah.
They're not surgeons.
No.
No dermatologist is a surgeon. I mean, they do minor procedures on skin, like most procedures, but they're not surgeons.
At most, superficial stuff.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. So this guy was doing really big surgeries in his office, and apparently, allegedly, it's my new favorite word, allegedly, he had some pretty bad outcomes, and then it kind of came to a head that this guy was not a surgeon, but he was doing a ton of surgery, and a lot of people were allegedly getting hurt. So the legislation board, or whatever, I guess they have I don't know if they have House of Representatives or Parliament? Travis, does Australia have a parliament? What do they got over there? Any idea?
I'm glad you think I'm smart enough to know.
I feel like you know about these things, man.
I thought that was still part of England.
I think no. I don't know what they're. I know that they were. They
like the Queen.
They were part of England. I feel like a dummy because I don't know these things. I mean, I guess we're all dummies because none of us know. They're their own continent and country, but they have some.
I think they still have allegiance
They have
to the Queen.
a parliamentary system.
Oh, did you just look? Yeah. No, they do have parliament.
No, I didn't look it up. I knew that.
Oh, he did know that.
Yeah, I knew it off the top.
Yeah, he was holding out on me.
I didn't look it up with yourself.
Anyway, all right. So Parliament said, this is their quote. The public reasonably assumes that doctors calling themselves a surgeon, plastic surgeon, cosmetic surgeon, etc., have at least a minimum standard of advanced surgical training. That was what they said when they made this legislation that would make it a crime for doctors to inappropriately use the title surgeon. And you asked the question, which is next on my list. Thank you. It says, Is this really an issue? And the answer is absolutely yes.
I know that that's wrong. I knew that what was happening, was wrong, but I assumed that those people that were doing these surgeries and they didn't have the license, I guess, to do it were
be board certification or training. Yeah.
The training to do it were getting fined or some kind of repercussion was happening because that's against the law.
Negative.
Because there's laws against impersonating things for people.
It's a super gray area because these people are doctors. Okay,
yeah. They
are doctors, so they have a license to practice medicine. And I don't know exactly if it's exactly the same in Australia. I'm more now talking about the United States.
Yeah.
They're licensed doctors. They've gone through the Texas Medical Board. But what the issue is that, and how I say is they're practicing out of their scope of expertise, and so.
And that sounds very dangerous.
Well, it is. Yeah, it is dangerous. There are governing boards for training programs. It's called the ACGME. It's the Accredited Council for Graduate Medical Education. I can't believe I got that out. But the ACGME is the one who certifies training programs. Because there's nothing stopping me from opening up a residency in my office and say, oh, I'm going to train plastic surgeons. I mean, nothing stops me from doing that. And I can give them a diploma that says you graduated from the Dr. Hermann residency program, okay? But does that mean that they're properly trained? I mean, the answer obviously is...
If you were an accredited one, maybe.
If you were an ACGME program.
Yes.
But to get that accreditation takes a lot. It's not just about doing cases. It's about having the didactic training that you need, the journal article reviews, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And so the ACGME says what programs are legit programs. Then you have to go on and get board certified, because just because you graduate from a program
That's what happened to one of those doctors you were talking about. They like graduated, but they never got certified.
They weren't board certified. That's right. And so
That's weird.
That is the concern that I have, is when people who don't go to a proper training program, and the board certification is I mean, it's important, but to me it's a little bit lesser. It is kind of a little bit of a red flag if you did proper training to get board certified. It's like, why is that? Is there something that you need to know about? But this is an issue. In fact, about 5 years ago, I had an assistant that I had pull up every person practicing plastic or cosmetic surgery in the entire Dallas Metroplex. We then went through and looked at their training to see if they were legitimate board certified plastic surgeons. What percentage of those do you think were not?
Not board certified plastic surgeons.
Correct. Like that we're practicing plastic surgery, but we're not actual board certified plastic surgeons. What percent? What do you think? Travis, help her out.
Travis.
I'll
Don't look it up.
You can't look it up. I had to do this myself.
Oh,
I'll say 40%.
Oh, wow.
I was gonna say 40 or 60.
Okay, so it's not quite that big of a problem. It was 20%, 1 in 5.
Dang,
But that's a
it was
lot.
close.
I mean, that's a lot of people practicing surgery that aren't properly trained to do it.
There's
Yeah,
a lot.
that's weird, especially if you go into like a surgery.
I
like
mean,
a doc,
there's
like a hospital.
there's like internal
area.
medicine doctors that are doing surgery in their office. There's OBGYNs doing plastic surgery in their offices. And so, all right, so how do you protect yourself from this, right? I mean, because obviously the state's not helping out. I mean, the laws, I think, here are too loose. It allows too much freedom for people to practice out of their scope. And there's no repercussions for it. And that's why this Australia thing is, I'm clapping for them and saying this is a good thing. So
Yeah.
if there's no laws to protect you, how can you protect yourself? And that's where I come in. I'm gonna help you.
Okay.
Well, not you, but help you out there. So first thing, board certification is important. American Board of Plastic Surgery is the only recognized board certification for people who are doing plastic surgery procedures. And that means liposuction, breast augmentations, tummy tucks, all of that. If somebody does not have certification by the American Board of Plastic Surgery, that is a huge red flag. The next would be if they went to a proper training program. And this is where it gets very difficult for people to know, because how do you know if a training program is ACGME certified? I mean, it's possible to look it up, but it's difficult. Because when I get on these fake plastic surgeons' websites, they'll say, oh, I graduated from the prestigious blah, blah, blah training program. Well, when you go and you look it up, it's like a 1-month thing that you do to like learn how to do surgery procedures. I mean, that's not a proper program. I mean, I did 3 years of training program after 5 years of general surgery to get where I'm at. So, but the main thing is if in order to be board certified by the American Board of Plastic Surgery, you had to go to an ACGME program.
Okay.
And that's how you can tell.
Right.
So that's why that's so important. The other thing is you should have a little bit of a red flag, and I know people will probably be pissed off that I say this because there are legitimate plastic surgeons that do this, but office ORs are a tiny bit of a red flag because there's no regulation.
Yeah.
If you are, say, an internal medicine doctor wanting to do breast augmentations, and you go to a surgery center and say, I want privilege to do this, they will say absolutely not. Why? Because they want you to go to a training program that's proper, and they want you to have the board certification.
Yeah, because you're representing them at the same time.
Right, well, they don't
Yeah.
want to have a potential lawsuit.
Yeah.
But there's nothing stopping that person from opening up their own surgery
Yeah.
room in their
Makes sense.
office. So if you're a person that's seeking out plastic surgery and they say, okay, well, we're going to do this in the office, at least make sure they're not doing that because they're
To
not
avoid.
to
Yeah.
avoid getting shut down.
Yeah.
Also be a little nervous about local anesthesia only. Not only because most plastic surgeons or most non-plastic surgeons doing plastic surgery procedures can't get an anesthesiologist to work with them. You know, if I'm an anesthesiologist and I'm putting someone to sleep, I want to know that the doctor doing the surgery is going to do a good job. And so a lot of times when you see these doctors doing things under local, it's not because that's their choice, it's because it's their only option.
And if they're doing it under local, then they're probably doing it in their office.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
at 100%. You ask the doctors about their training. Don't think that that's offensive to ask someone about their training. I'd love to talk about my training.
Yeah.
You know, I would love, you know, when people say, oh, where'd you train? I'm like, oh, well, let me tell you about it because I'm proud of that. And, you know, don't be afraid to ask if the person has been properly trained. I mean, if a doctor gets mad at you for asking questions, then they're the wrong doctor.
Yeah.
Like, end of story.
Good.
They should have nothing to hide. Don't solely rely on websites. You know, I've seen people who are not surgeons that have a website that says they do cosmetic surgery that look beautiful. Like, they look great. They look as good as my webpage. And the information may look totally legit. So you can't just rely on a website to know that, you know, you are getting someone that's going to be properly trained. You know, you have to go and dig deeper. And then lastly is, you know, what would I say to somebody that had surgery by someone who's not a properly trained plastic surgeon is you need to seek recourse. I mean, this is what happened in Australia. This guy did a bunch of surgery on people. They had bad outcomes, and enough people started talking that it generated enough buzz that somebody stepped in and said, this isn't right.
Yeah.
And so, and it's hard because in Texas, you know, here, it's actually pretty hard to sue doctors. You know, there's a lot of protection laws for doctors, which, I mean, as a doctor, I think that's good, but to the point that you can't root out bad apples, then I think it's bad. So, you know, if you had a plastic surgery procedure and something went wrong, I mean, do your research. You know, if that person is not properly trained, then they should be held accountable.
Yeah.
So I think that this is all about education. You know, if you're going to have a procedure done, do your research, know what you need to look for. I mean, because plastic surgery can have complications even when it's the best of hands, but it certainly can have more and even bigger or more lethal complications if it's done by somebody who's not properly trained.
So I have a question. So
Bring
I know
it.
nurses go to school for nursing school, and they have to get a license too.
Correct.
To be a registered nurse. So I know
Well, there's different
hospitals-
levels, but yes.
But I know a hospital will never hire a
That's correct.
non-registered nurse. But can a doctor's office hire a nurse without the RN?
Sure. In fact,
Like a
you know,
private?
most doctors' offices hire what's called medical assistants.
Why? Well, yeah.
Most nurses are more like more hospital-based
Yeah.
or like surgery center-based.
Okay.
Because their degrees demand a higher salary. And quite frankly, you know, like in my office where we're just bringing patients in or, you know, we're doing minor stuff.
Yeah.
We don't need the highest level of a registered nurse to
Yeah.
be there.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's a great question.
Because my mom was a nurse, and she maintained hers, and she stopped working at a hospital a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, she worked for like the public health department, and I'm sure that they had to keep theirs up to
It
date as
depends.
well.
Like if people make the transition from medicine into like business, then keeping up things like your certifications are a little bit less important.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to have the degrees. But
I
that's a good
I
question.
just wanted to know because I'm like. I don't
Anyway, I want to applaud Australia, and I would challenge any lawmaker in the United States to take heed of what's happening because this is a problem. People are getting hurt, and it doesn't seem like, you know, that anyone's trying to help them. I feel like I'm alone. I
It's
mean,
real sketchy.
I feel like I'm the only person that's shouting, "There's a problem here," and like no one cares. I mean, I think people care, but no one's doing anything.
We care, Dr. Herman.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you. Maybe, hey, who knows? Maybe someone will see this
Absolutely.
and start spreading the word.
Absolutely.
All right, guys.